everybody and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Anna, and as you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be talking about fall books. And as you know, I hate summer, okay? I hate summer, I despise summer, I just think it's so horrendous. I really do not like that season, and my favorite season is, of course, the fall. I love the fall season, so the fact that we are entering that season is just so amazing to me. I feel so much happier, okay? I just feel so much happier and so much more at ease. Like, I can wear these, thick sweaters, I can wear long sleeves again, and I just love this, okay? I feel so cozy, and even with my bedding, I can actually add, a little bit more of a warmer bedding. I've been loving it, okay? I've just been feeling so cozy, and I can finally start drinking tea again because I miss tea, and I don't like cold tea, so that's why I don't drink tea in the summer. So as you can tell, I'm just very, very happy, and of course, I love fall books as well. I love all the fall vibes, the spookiness, the dark academia, just witches, just literally anything, and I am here to give you guys some fall book recommendations. So let's start off with Dark Academia, and one of my favorite Dark Academia books is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I was actually very surprised to like this as much as I did when I read it. I think I read it back in 2021. I think it was 2021 or 2022. I don't really remember, but I had read Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows before, and I didn't really like them. They were just not for me. And when I tried this book, I was really, really surprised to like this as much as I did, and I absolutely love this character. I love Alex Stern because she truly feels like a normal person. She feels like a normal human being. She feels like someone that you could be friends with. I wouldn't really recommend that because she gets in a lot of trouble, but I just loved how Leigh Bardugo created her past, the way that she acts, the way that she, grows as a character. It's just really, really amazing to see. But in this book, we follow Alex Stern, and she has a very particular gift because she can see ghosts. And in this world, you do have some secret societies at the Yale University, and you have 8 houses. I mean, particularly you do have 9 houses, but 8 houses, they each specialize on one thing. Some contact the ghosts, others do potions, others do spells, all that kind of stuff. Each house has one specification. Then you have the 9th house, and the 9th house doesn't really specify on anything. They were just created to supervise all of the other houses, because obviously with great power comes great responsibility, and their responsibility is to literally make sure that all of the other houses are not using their abilities and their powers to get, more power or to manipulate other people and influence other people in any sort of way. And because of that, this 9th house, these people, in order to supervise rituals and practices and anything, they have to make sure that ghosts don't get attracted to those things, because ghosts are, of course, attracted to blood, they are attracted to life, and when any other house does those rituals, the 9th house has to be there to make sure that ghosts don't cause havoc. So obviously, when they hear that Alex Stern has the gift to see ghosts without drinking any sort of potions, because the 9th house, they have to, these people, they have to drink potions in order to see the ghosts. Alex Stern, she was just born with that gift, so of course they tried to recruit her, and she does go to Yale University as an apprentice to the 9th house because her life sucks. Literally, basically, her life sucks. She doesn't really have a future, so she accepted this at Yale because she has, no other choice. Even though she doesn't really like her gift, she hates seeing ghosts. She hates the fact that she can contact the dead, because some ghosts are not friendly at all, and she has been attacked once, and that's why, she's just very, very scared. But alas, when you have nothing else going on in your life, when you have no other future, she accepts. And there is something that happens here at the University of Yale, a murder. So now she has to try and find out who murdered this young girl. Was it one of the societies? Are they, abusing their power, manipulating their power? And I just absolutely love this because even the atmosphere is so academic, it's so dark academia, and I loved it, okay? So I would highly recommend this book. I think, in my opinion, like I said, the best elements in this book is truly Alex Stern as the main character. I give this 4 stars, and I would highly recommend this if you like Dark Academia. And then, of course, it wouldn't be, a Dark Academia video if I did not recommend Babel by R.F. Kuang. And, when I read this, I didn't really love it. I didn't really enjoy it. I gave it a 3.5 stars because I think it could have improved in some things. For example, I think the secondary characters, they were just there to, fill up a role. They were just there to become some sort of like stereotypes. I think the author didn't really flesh them out as much as the protagonist. I think Robin was much more of a complex character than any of his other peers. I understand why she did that, because she was talking about colonialism, and she wanted, Robin's friends to represent some sort of, problem, some sort of prejudice, stereotype. I understand that, but I just felt like they could have been more fleshed out. But of course, Babel is absolutely amazing if you want Dark Academia vibes. It's absolutely amazing if you want an academic book, because here in this book, R.F. Kuang, you know, she touches on the subject about translation and what is really translation. Do you steal another language when you're translating? Do you morph the meaning? Is the word, you know, the same? Is the meaning the same? Adapt and adjust when you're translating from a different language, because there is never, you know, a word for a certain word, if you know what I mean. When we translate, for example, in my language, Portuguese, when you try to translate the palavra saudade, it's very hard to do so, because you can say, oh, it's I miss you. But when you say I miss you in Portuguese, we say eu sinto a tua falta, not saudade. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to translate or find a direct translation for the word saudade. And R.F. Kuang, she approaches this theme and she discusses it and debates it so well. And that was my favorite part of the whole book. It was just that whole debate about translating, and is it really stealing someone's language? Are you morphing the meaning? Are you trying to alter it? Can you even find a meaning for a certain word? It was just so good. And the second part is more about colonialism and how, you know, the British empires more specifically stole languages from other people, from other lands, and they used it for their own benefits to get even more powerful, to rule even more. So if you do like these themes, I would highly recommend Babel. Like I said, it wasn't really my favorite. I think the characters should have been more fleshed out. I think the story wasn't as interesting, but I absolutely love the themes and the debates. So if you do want an academic book, Babel by R.F. Kuang. So now let's talk a little bit about some spooky books and some horror books, and I really want to recommend Junji Ito, because he's just amazing. And I'm going to see, I don't know if I can pick, you know, all of these up, but okay, I'm really trying, but I read all of these 3 books and I absolutely love them. They are so good. He's just the king of horror manga at this point, and my least favorite was actually Gideon. It was my least favorite. I just, you know, the creatures were just so creepy. Even I was a little bit disturbed, I'm not going to lie. My favorite, definitely Uzumaki. I would highly recommend you start with this one, because it is just so weird and spooky, but it's also so fascinating and interesting. So here in Uzumaki, you follow this village, and you see that this village is slowly being consumed and obsessed with spirals. Literally, you see, you know, it starts with one character. I think it's the father of one of the main characters. He's just absolutely obsessed with spirals. He starts collecting everything that has a spiral on it. He tries to then become a spiral himself, and everything and everyone is just going to descend to madness because of these spirals. Literally, these spirals are consuming this town, and it was just so fascinating, because who would have thought of this? Who would have thought of, you know, incorporating spirals in this way? It was just so creepy and so eerie, and the things that the people did in order to, you know, become spirals or run away from them, it was just so insane. I do wish, though, because the ending, I was expecting Junji Ito to explain where this came from, where this curse came from, but he didn't. Like, he literally didn't. He just said, oh, you know, like, this is a curse in this town, and that was all. That's all he said, so I was a little bit disappointed. And then, of course, I think this one is the most famous of him, is Tomie. And I also really enjoyed this one. Not as much as Uzumaki, but I also enjoyed this one. And in this one, we follow, you know, a young girl named Tomie. And she is said to you know, be so beautiful that she drives men to madness. And she drives men to literally kill her, chop her up, and then just dump her somewhere. And what Tomie does is, from all of those pieces, a new Tomie emerges. So you're gonna see, basically, I don't want to say the world, because it's not that big of a scope, but you're gonna see so many towns, you know, flooded with different Tomies. They don't even get along well, which is so funny to me. But yeah, this also criticizes, you know, and talks about how men are horrible in some sort of sense, because they just want to own Tomie, they want to possess Tomie, they want to control her, and of course, she doesn't want any of that. She's like, no, you're not going to control me, you're not going to own me, you're not going to possess me. She does, you know, play a lot with men in that sense. She does drag them along, you know, and she does kind of make them think that they can own her, but at the end of the day, they don't. But yeah, it's just, you know, it was such an amazing way to criticize sometimes, you know, the actions of men, because then you do really think, is this Tomie's fault? I don't think this is Tomie's fault. I don't think Tomie is at fault for being killed and murdered multiple times, because especially how it starts, you know, it starts with her and her teacher in a secret relationship, which is highly, you know, of course, abusive. The dynamics are abusive, and this is when you understand the tone of the story. The teacher, of course, is driven to madness, and he kills Tomie. So he's the first one that actually kills her, and you see this theme recurring again and again and again. And I just absolutely loved how Junji Ito really talked about those themes. So if you do want any horror manga or just horror books in general, I would highly recommend one of these 3 by Junji Ito, especially Uzumaki. So now now I'm going to be talking about some witchy books. I only have 2, unfortunately, which is so alarming because what do you mean I don't read that many books with witches? It's so weird because I do like witches, but anyways, the first book that I do want to recommend is The Nature of Witches. And now, this is so much more of a cozy fantasy than anything else, okay? So if you do like a cozy fantasy, you like the fall vibes, the autumn vibes, although this does have, all of the seasons, so you do have the 4 seasons, I think you're going to enjoy this very much. I read it and I give it a 3 stars because I'm just not really into cozy fantasy, but I absolutely loved the descriptions about every single season, especially the autumn season. It was just top tier, okay? Her talking about the leaves, the colors, the chilly winds, the foggy mornings, loved it, okay? Absolutely loved it. And in this book, we have a society of witches, and usually each witch has 1 season. So you have a spring witch, summer witch, fall witch, winter witch, and those powers actually affect their own personality. So of course the winter witches are a lot colder, they're much more logical, and then you have the summer witches, which are a lot happier, chirpier. They're just in a good mood, and they are extroverted, and they basically annoy everyone, okay? I'm kidding, okay? They don't annoy everyone, but you get the gist. And our main character, she is actually the rare witch that has all 4 seasons, so she can control all 4 seasons, which is insane. But that also means that she also has 4 different personality types every single year. And that is something that she struggles with a lot. She doesn't really know who she is. She doesn't know how to behave. She doesn't like the fact that, in summer she's so happy, she loves everybody, and then in fall she starts to kind of distance herself from her friends, from her people, because she just doesn't feel that lovey-dovey anymore. She doesn't feel as happy. It's more of a time to reflect and more of a time to stay a little bit more of a hermit. But I can only imagine, you know what? I think every single woman can really relate to her because our mood swings, they are crazy. And because we do have, our menstrual cycle, we can understand. We can literally understand how this woman feels. But she doesn't really know how to accept her powers. She doesn't want to accept them because she doesn't want to be this way. She doesn't want to feel like a different person every, 3 months. I think that's how long a season lasts. Possibly, I don't know. Don't quote me on that, okay? I'm not good at math. But every 3 months, she doesn't want to feel like a completely different person, like a new person. She doesn't really know herself. She doesn't know who she is as a person because of said powers. So, of course, she's going to find someone. I think he's a spring witch, and he's going to fall in love with her. She's going to fall in love with him, and she's going to learn how to accept herself, how to enjoy her powers and control them. Just the whole shebang. And, I actually loved that. I actually really liked that, and I liked her journey, how she really learned how to accept herself, accept who she is, and accept the fact that she's not a different person just because she changes personalities a little bit, because obviously she doesn't completely change. You always have something that is your core soul, your core being, so of course your core doesn't change, but she's just going to learn how to accept how she fluctuates, basically. And if you do want some cozy fantasy, then I would highly recommend The Nature of Witches, because like I said, the descriptions, the atmosphere, everything is just top tier. And of course, I had to recommend one of my favorite, if not my favorite, young adult, fantasy book that also has witches, which is The Bone Witch by Chupeco. I love this book, okay? I love this book. I've loved this trilogy. I've read this trilogy 4 times, people. Yep.
No, I don't think you understand. I'm obsessed.
I've read this 4 times, and I love it. It is just so, I don't want to say cozy, because the story is not cozy, but it feels cozy to me at this point. But in this book, we follow Tia, and she's an Asha. She finds out that she's an Asha, and in this world, Ashas are the same thing as witches, okay? The author just calls it a different name, so she finds out that she's an Asha, but she's not any type of Asha. She is a bone witch, or what they call a bone witch. She's a dark Asha. And what does this mean? This means that she can control the dark runes, she controls the dead, she can revive the dead, she can ask questions, she is one of the only people that, can just, I don't want to say, just control the dead. So she's not well seen. People do not like bone witches. People don't see them well. She suffers from a lot of discrimination because of that. And even herself, she had, discrimination against herself because she found out that she was a dark Asha when she resurrected her brother. Her brother's enlisted to go to war, and he dies. He ends up dying to a huge beast, to a deiva. And she's while she's burying him, she just cannot accept that her brother is gone. She cannot accept that Fox is gone from her life. And without knowing and without realizing, she resurrects him. And that's that's when she realizes, oh my god, I'm a dark Asha. I'm the worst of the Ashas. And she hated her own self. Like, she hated herself because she was a dark Asha. Obviously, people have, like I said, a lot of discrimination towards her. She doesn't have an easy life. And in this first book, basically, we just follow Tia learning how to accept that she's a dark Asha, going to the capital of this kingdom to learn how to be an Asha, to learn how to control her own powers, and not just control her own powers, because this book is very much inspired by the life or the memories. I think it is the memories of a geisha. And so she's also going to learn how to dance. She's going to learn how to sing, how to pour tea, how to have manners. She's basically going to learn how to entertain the nobles, the people that can, pay money for them and to be with them. And how the other Ashes work, basically they can use runes, and they can use any type of runes, elemental runes. So anyone can use fire runes, water runes, air, earth. You also have shields, anything. But Dark Asha cannot use any other rune other than the dark. So they can only use the dark, and in turn, the other Ashas cannot use dark runes. So basically, our poor Tia is reduced to some very, restricted runes, because obviously she doesn't really know much about the Dark Asha, so she cannot fight as well as the other Dark Asha, because the other Dark Asha are so overpowered. Like, you can literally control all of the elements. Like, that's amazing. And poor Tia is stuck with, just resurrecting the dead. And it's not even that great, because you can think, oh my god, Army of the Dead. No, they do have limits to this. But basically, this is what the first book is like. It's just following Tia, accepting that she's a Dark Asha, learning how everything works, how the world works. And then, in the second book, that's when you get, the plot going. The plot is going to start going. And even the end of this book ends in a very explosive way, because you start finding out, the political context of everything, the machinations behind everything. But yeah, this is a very witchy book. It's a dark book because it has a lot of necromantic magic, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite magic systems. I absolutely love necromancy. I love dead people. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book if you're looking for a YA, fantasy read. If you're looking for necromancers, witches, please read this book. You're not going to be disappointed. And now I'm just going to be recommending some fantasy books that do just fit, the fall vibes. And the first one that I want to recommend, which I've talked about it a lot, so I'm not going to talk about it as much in this video, which is Silence for Shadow, or Shadow for Silence. No, yeah. Shadow for Silence in the Forest of Hell by Brandon Sanderson. I read this novella, in August, and I loved it. And the reason why I think it fits the fall vibe is because it has a creepy forest. What else do you want? You have a creepy forest with dead people lurking around. All you see is like some bright green eyes, and which are the dead people. If they turn red, you are absolutely done for. You're going to be murdered in that forest. You're going to be killed. And everything just felt so eerie and so dangerous, because in that forest, if you even bleed, if you draw blood, you're done for. Even if, you hurt yourself, you cut yourself, you have to be extremely careful when walking in those woods. Otherwise, the dead people are just going to ravish you. But yeah, I just think the creepy forest vibes and the dead people fit so well with the fall spooky vibes. And afterwards, I do want to recommend the Wayward children's series by Shannon McGuire, I think. And you can read literally any book. Literally any book. I think the third one is the one that has the least fall vibes, in my opinion. I've only read the first 4, but I can tell you they have such fall vibes. They feel cozy because you have a magical school and you have different worlds and the children are traveling. It just feels so fall to me for some reason. But the second book, which I cannot remember the name, I think it's Down Amongst the Sticks and Bones. I think it's something along those lines. That one, my friends, that one is fall vibe coded, because you just have a very eerie world. It's made, obviously, Sticks and Bones because it's in the title. But yeah, you just don't really have that much greenery. Everything is so spooky. You have vampires. You have weird creatures lurking around. So if you do want, something very short, very cozy, I would highly recommend you pick one of the Wayward children's series, which, like I said, basically you just have these children that travel to different worlds. A door opens up for them. They travel there, and they either have 2 choices. They either stay in that world and never come back, or they come back, but they feel 2 ways. Either they're like, oh my god, like, I'm so glad I'm back to my house. I'm so glad I'm back to my parents, to the people that love me. I don't want to ever get lost again. Or some children feel such emptiness inside of them because they're like, that world was made for me. I could be myself in that world. Because these doors usually open up for children that don't feel at home on Earth, and they don't feel understood. They don't feel comprehended. And that's why they have this chance of, okay, go to this world because this world was made for you, technically. And So in the Wayward Children, you follow closely the school that rehabilitates children that cannot move on. They want to go back to those worlds. They want to find those doors again. And it just follows, like I said, the school where you find a lot of children that for some reason miss the other world. They miss going to the world where they came from. They don't even know why they came back. They just made a poor choice, a poor decision. So if you do want, the cozy vibes, the fall vibes, then pick one of these up because you're not going to regret it. And then if you do want something a little bit more easier, I would recommend The Savage Song by V. Schwab. I didn't really enjoy this book. It wasn't really for me because it is more urban fantasy, but it has 3 types of monsters. It has, monsters lurking around the shadows or around the corners. So it just gives off that spooky vibe. And then you have one type of monster that uses music to, eat and harvest the souls of human beings. I don't know, that to me is just so fall coded. Just imagine listening to this eerie, creepy music that you just could not resist and feeling your soul being ripped out from you, just being hypnotized. It honestly, it's kind of now the equivalent to, I don't know if you've watched it or you've seen it, K-pop Demon Hunters, when the Soldier Boys, they sing Idol. That's the equivalent of it, okay? It's just literally imagine, one of these monsters just singing, you're hypnotized, and your soul is gone. So, did I really enjoy it? No, I did not, because, I'm not really into young adult anymore, so the tone of the story and the characters weren't really, my thing. And of course it's urban fantasy, so that also doesn't really connect with me that much. I just prefer high fantasy. But if you don't mind any of these things, if you don't mind reading young adult, if you don't mind reading a setting where it's just urban fantasy in our own world with a little bit of magic, then I promise you're not going to mind this book, because like I said, it has such a fall and spooky vibe. You have different types of monsters, and they are very creepy, very eerie. They have the red eyes, the big claws. They are always hiding in the shadows and lurking at nighttime. You can't even go out because people are so afraid of going out because they can be caught by one of these monsters, eaten, and it's just amazing, okay? So the vibes and the atmosphere, I absolutely did love that, but the rest wasn't really my thing. But I would recommend this book if you do not mind anything that I said. And another fantasy book that this one is more about the magic system, which is The Bone Shard Daughter. Just this magic system, I loved it, okay? I love this magic system. It is so creepy. And it also gives the vibes of having a mystery, because in this world, from what I recall, because I read this, a little while ago, so I don't remember everything, but in this world, you do have, our main character, and she's the daughter of a king, and she doesn't know anything about, not only the magic system, but she doesn't know a lot of things because her father is always keeping secrets, and she has to, find certain keys to open up certain doors inside of her own palace, inside the palace that she lives in, because her father keeps everything locked. And I just loved this mystery because you have to find these keys, you have to find a way, to pass by the guards, to pass by, the people that your father hired to protect these doors, to protect what's inside. And it's just a classic, locked door mystery where you have to collect all of these keys in order to open so many more doors. I just love that, okay? And you have to solve all of these puzzles, etc. So that aspect, loved it. And also the magic system, it's amazing because it works with bones. So for example, what the king does is for every subject, he takes, a little bit of a cartilage here in the back of your ear, and he keeps it. He keeps it hidden in the palace, and then when he needs it, so what you do with this magic system is you pick up those bones, and you have to engrave in those bones anything that you want to happen. So for example, it works with constructs. So what he does is he's going to pick different parts of different animals, and he's going to sew everything up and build everything, but it's not, it doesn't have any life form. So what he does is he picks these bones, he engraves them inside of the different parts of the animal, and then you have to specify certain commands, and you have to be very, very careful with what you say, because the construct is going to do exactly what you tell them to. So for example, he has different constructs that are so complex that not even his daughter understands, and they are complex in the sense of they are guarding certain doors, certain secrets, they guard the palace, and they are ordered, to not harm her, etc. So they are very complex, and every time he picks one of the bones from some said, subject from his kingdom, he engraving them, and when he uses that magic, your life force is drained because it's connected to that little piece of bone. So you do have a lot of subjects dying actually very, very early. They're not dying of old age, they're dying of being, just literally having their life sucked away from them, and they have no choice whatsoever because it's their king. So it's actually horrible because nobody in that kingdom likes their king because of that, and he does not even hesitate in doing this to his own people. So I just love the magic system because obviously our protagonist, she's going to try and figure out all of the secrets that her father is keeping, and she's going to try and find a way to manipulate this magic system to try and use it and not harm as many people as she can. I just loved it because, like I said, it works with Bones, and of course, Bones, fall, spooky season, Halloween, of course it matches. It has to match. And like I said, the mystery of the locked doors, everything just matches. But read just the first book, okay? I read the second book, and it was such a disappointment. It was such a big disappointment. I did not like it at all. I didn't really like the second book, but I really enjoyed the first book because of the magic system. It's just amazing. And then if you do want something that is fantasy, but also a little bit more on the academic side, you do have Middlegame by Seanan McGuire. I did not like this book, okay? I didn't like this book because it just wasn't for me. It wasn't what I was expecting. I just thought the story was so boring. The story was really, really boring. But you might like this if you do like, you know, those dark academia montages of these characters just studying, because you have two characters. And I don't know if they are related. No, they're not related, but it's they are kind of, you know, the opposite. They are part of like the same coin, if you want to say that way, because you have Roger. I don't know if they're, yes, they are Roger and Dodger. So you have Roger. He is very good with languages. He understands languages, letters, everything. And then you have Dodger. She's very good at math, and they complement each other. And for some reason, there's like this alchemist secret society group that is after them, which I cannot remember the reason. I think it's because they have powers that they do not know when they join together and when they are together, because one of them understands language and the other one understands math, which is, you know, the universal language for the entire universe and learning how it works. When they collide, I think they have great power and they can rule the world. And this, you know, alchemist group, I think they were the ones that created them and leashed them to the world, because they had obviously they need to be raised, they needed to have some sort of like normal life, and they've been kind of tracking their progress and how they're doing, and now they want them back, so now they're just after them. But the story is boring. It's kind of boring. I did enjoy the atmosphere again, because I think Seanan McGuire is just so good at writing atmospheres, but I didn't really like the story. I just thought it was boring. But if you, like, once again, if you do want something more academic, and if you do want something, because obviously they are at school, you're going to learn a lot about Dodger's genius with math, and all of those montages of her, you know, writing on the walls, trying to find all of these equations and solving all of these equations and trying to understand the world. And then you have, you know, Roger on the other hand, understanding people like no other. He understands every single language. He understands what the people and what the person is trying to say, even if they're not using the correct words. If you do like those montages, I think you're going to love this book, because it's very academic, like I said. Academic in the sense of they're not going to discuss the laws of the universe, but it just has these cool montages. And if you do like a very character-driven story, you're going to like this book again, because you're going to see the relationship between Roger and Dodger, because they really want to be with each other, because they are drawn to each other. They complement each other, but they also realize that we can't really be together because we literally make the world tremble. They are going to make the world tremble. They don't know how to control their powers. They don't even understand. They start questioning themselves, like, should we even be together? I don't know. It's just very complex, and they are complex characters. But once again, you know, I didn't really enjoy it, but you might enjoy this book because it is so fall-coded. And of course, I couldn't film this video without mentioning Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. It's fall, like this cover is fall, it's spooky. We do have a necromantic magic system, which I absolutely love. And we also have a murder mystery, which is, you know, it's just for this season. And I absolutely love this book. It's not for everyone, because this book is very confusing. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be confused throughout the entirety of the book, and then the last maybe 30% you're going to understand everything that is going on. But please, you know, you are warned. This book is not for everyone. You're going to be confused, and that's okay. You will understand everything, you know, in the last 30% of the book, so do not worry. But in this book, we follow Gideon the Ninth, and she lives in a very desolate planet called the Ninth, and she doesn't want to be there. She has been trying to escape this planet for her entire life, because only dead people live there. Literally, only dead people, skeleton people live there. She doesn't want to be there, but, you know, the ruler of this planet, which is Harrow, her, let's just say her nemesis, doesn't let her leave. She's always trying to, you know, make Gideon's life a living hell. Gideon also tries to do that to Harrow. But one day, Harrow actually gets an invitation from the Emperor himself for a contest. So every single house, which are 9, they are the 9th house, they can bring, you know, a representative or the leader of that said house, has the chance to become one of the right hands of the Emperor. So obviously Harrow's like, yes, I want all of that power. I want to be next to the Emperor. So you're coming with me, because these people, you know, they need a cavalier. And she offers Gideon, you know, you want to leave this planet? Then you have to come with me. You have to be a cavalier. You have to be my fighter. So that's what we're going to do. And they arrive at the said location for the contest. And obviously we have also the locked door mysteries, because they have to solve all of these puzzles, all of these enigmas in order to open certain doors, in order to advance and find find what they're looking for and win this contest. But the thing is, something is killing each one of them. So people are just dropping dead left and right, and they don't know what's happening. They don't know who it is, and it's much bigger than them. It's something much bigger than them. So if you do like, murder mysteries, locked doors, and necromantic magic system, then you're absolutely going to love Gideon the Ninth. But once again, it is very confusing, so please take that into account, but it is so worth it. And lastly, I do want to recommend Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff, because we cannot have the fall season without some vampires, of course. It is very chunky, okay? And I did like this book. I thought it was enjoyable. I think it's way too long. I don't think it needed to be this long. So, as you can tell, this is a totally different day because I lost footage, okay, people? I lost the footage of my video. So, I do have to, obviously, film again, and this is a new day. I'm wearing a new shirt. I'm so sorry, okay? I'm so sorry. And the reason why I lost that footage is because I was dumb, okay? I was completely dumb. I deleted it. I deleted it on accident, and I remember, because I just stared at my camera, and I was like, I'm not gonna get this back. Like, I'm just not gonna get this back. So, of course, here I am filming. This video will be up later. So, I am so sorry about that. But I think the last clip, it was me talking about Empire of the Vampire. And like I said, this book, it was too long for my taste, but it is still a good book. It is still a solid 4 stars. And in this book, we follow Gabriel de Leon. And we have 3 timelines in this book. So, the first timeline is the present. It's him talking about his life, what happened to him, how he got there. It's very much interview with the vampire. And then we have another timeline, and that one is the past, but it's kind of like a recent past. So he's talking about why he decided to embark on this journey, why he decided to, just try again at life, because he kind of gave up. He wasn't doing anything, and he decided to go on this journey because it was the only hope that this world had. And then the third timeline is the very, distant past. It's just him talking about his life, how he grew up, what happened to him, etc. And in this book, like I said, so we follow Gabriel de Leon, and he's talking about his story, basically. And in this world, vampires rule the world. And the reason why that happened is because there was this fatidic day 26 years ago that made the entire world go dark. So basically, it's just a very cloudy world, and the sun cannot get through the clouds, which means that the vampires can roam freely during the day. They are still a little bit weaker during the day than at night, but still, the sun doesn't really affect them, so they can walk freely, and they conquered the entire of the human race. All of the kingdoms, just everything. The only people left that can fight these vampires are the half-vampires, which is what Gabriel de Leon is. And there's this order called the Order of Michon, I think, I don't know French, so I'm just gonna say the Order of Michon. And these people, they train these half-vampires in order to fight these vampires. And Gabriel de Leon, of course, he is half a vampire. And we have 4 vampire clans. I do not know their names, okay? I do not know their names. I just could not remember. But each one of them, what I like is that each clan has their own power. So, for example, you have the bear clan. They are very strong. Obviously, I think you have the snake clan. And these people can mess with your mind, mess with your feelings. And then the other 2 clans, I cannot remember. I literally cannot remember, so apologies for that. But, there's commonly, 4 clans, but there is a 5th clan, but allegedly they are all gone. Nobody knows what happened to them, and they had blood powers. And of course, Gabriel de Leon is very special, and he, of course, is going to be from this 5th clan. He doesn't really understand his powers, and he has to, find a way to control them because, like I said, he's going to embark on this journey because one of his colleagues from the Order of Michon found a little girl, and this little girl might be the key to everything because she is holy. Her blood can kill vampires just by touching it. So what they believe is she is the key. She is the key to unlock this strange, mysterious event that happened 26 years ago that made the world go dark. So in this book, that is the premise. That is what we follow. And like I said, this is very fall-coded because vampires, hello. And these are not Twilight vampires, okay? These are actual vampires. They are very gruesome. Everything is just very gory. There's a lot of body horror, a lot of description. So please watch that out and watch the trigger warnings because this is a dark fantasy book. And I just love how everything is dark. Everything is moody. There's a lot of snow involved. So this has a lot of fall vibes, and the cover, stunning. It's just absolutely stunning. So I would highly recommend this book if you want, to read vampires during the fall season. And these are all the books that I have to recommend to you guys. Please let me know down in the comments if you read any of these books. What did you think of them? If you haven't read any of these books, please tell me which ones you were interested in, which ones you want to give a go during this fall season. Like I said, I'm so sorry that I deleted the footage. It was really by accident because literally this was the last clip and the only book I had to talk about. So yeah, I delayed this video by a day just because of this, I think it was a 5 or 6 minute clip. I do not know, but yeah. So that was on me. But please tell me also in the comments how excited you are for fall because like I said, this is my favorite season. I am so stoked that we are finally here. It is a little bit hot this week, which I do not like that because I'm having flashbacks to summer, but the rain will be coming soon enough. It's been, you know, very rainy and foggy, so I don't mind, you know, this week of sun, but please let me know what your favorite season is. The only correct answer is fall, okay? Do not give me any other answer. And like I said, these are all the books that I have to recommend you guys, so please subscribe and like this video. It really does help my channel out a lot. It gives me motivation and validation to continue filming all these videos for you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!